Hello YouTube, Robert Whittier back with another video from Coach's Royal Reptiles. I'm going to start a series on my channel here, videos that are going to highlight the different projects that I'm working on and more driven towards the guys that are breeding ball pythons. So again, starting the series on some of my projects. This first video in this series is going to be on my HRA project. I started with this male HRA 50% pause het VPI Xanthic, and that's what I started in the project with. You know, I had to finish kind of growing him up. He was close when I got him. He was probably 400 grams, 500 grams. He was close, but I just wanted to put a little bit more weight on him, you know, get him so you put him in with a big female, he can kind of at least try to hold his own in there. So I wanted to get him up a little bit larger. Now, I'm in this video with HRA. I'm going to be talking about allelic relationships because that's really what I enjoy doing in the ball pythons, is working it with supers or making supers and working with allelic combinations, because allelic combinations are, as we know, ALS, as they dubbed them years ago. ALS stands for acts like super. So if it's an ALS combo, an allelic combo, that animal is going to throw one or the other, never both, but always one or the other. I'm not going to go through how allelic genetics work. I am going to leave the genetics to my friend Rob Barraclough at Royal Balls. He's in Malaysia. He does a great job at explaining the way ball python genetics work. And my advice to you, I will put his link in the to his channel in the description, and please go over. Thank you, Rob, again. I always tell him he, blazed the trail, and I'll walk safely behind. So thank you again, Rob. I appreciate you, brother. I'm going to tell you about, because this project is the one that I'm most excited about. I love dorsal stripes. The dorsal markings on the ball python, to me, that's my ball python jam. If it's going to blackback the dorsal, I'm in. If it's going to stripe the dorsal, I'm in. So I'll be showing you different ones of my project where we're striping animals, and we're not even using the full gene to do it. We're using a het. Oh, it's het for this gene, so that's what you see. So this is what I did with the HRA. I showed you the picture of my male. So first, to prove out his het, I took the original male and I paired him to a VPI Xanthic female that I picked up from Sean Bradley years ago, and I fed her and grew her up, and I knew I wanted to do VPI Xanthic stuff, and I got a female. And so I had bought a couple of hets, pause het males, just to kind of mess with, and he was one of them. And so I put him to the VPI axe. It was a bigger than average clutch. It was 8 or 9 eggs. And in that clutch, we proved out his het. We half the clutch came out. If it was 9 eggs, there was 4 visual VPI Xanthics. So basically the clutch really mirrored itself. So basically the non-visuals, or the hets, I made 2 just het VPI Xanthics, and I made 2 HRAs het VPI Xanthics. Then on the visual VPI Xanthics, I made 2 regular visual VPI Xanthics, and I made 2 HRA VPI Xanthics, and it was 1.3 was the sex ratio. The male was a visual VPI Xanthic HRA, which is nice. And I don't think HRA is just a great gene for VPI Xanthic, because as you can see, they brown out. I'll put pictures of them when they're babies so you can really see, when they were babies, they were pretty silvery and black. So, but now HRA, we've got to remember with HRA, it's het red Xanthic. It's trying to put that red hue into everything. That's where it gets its name. And if you see the picture of my male, and it's funny because every single gene HRA that I've popped out, they're black. They're always black. And I've got the HRA female, and she's pause het VPI Xanthic, and she's not anywhere near dad. And when we get to a picture of her, I'll show you, and we can compare a picture of her and a picture of Dad. Then I wanted to test the blackback in this, because it came up in HRA. All 4 of the HRAs that I produced were blackbacked. So I knew HRA, this line of HRA, I was going to be able to tell it single gene easy because it's blackbacked. So I wanted to see if it would blackback other genes, right? The problem that I was having with genetic blackback is it wouldn't carry that blackback over to combos. So I bred one of them this year, and I'm keeping some hets. I don't know, I'm keeping some male and females out of that clutch to play with to see if maybe that trait is recessive. I put my original male HRA to a pastel lesser just to see if the HRAs would blackback pastel and lesser. And really, once I did this pairing, if the HRAs came out, and a lesser HRA came out and it wasn't blackbacked, probably would have just ended the entire project right there. So I got 4 HRA combo animals out of that pairing. Again, sex ratio was 1.3. And I hit the 0.1 HRA, and then I'll put a video up of her and her dad, and you can see it's just, they're totally different. I mean, I don't know what else could be in there, because I try to think, well, maybe she's darker because she's het VPI xanthic. But then I look at Dad, and I'm like, he's not black. He looks like a het red xanthic. So he doesn't produce het reds in every, the entire clutch. So I know he's not a red xanthic. And I'm yet to have produced that with this line that I'm working with. So we'll see. But here again, I hit 1.3, had the 0.1 HRA, single gene, I held onto her. And I got 1.1 lesser HRA, and they're different. And I'll show you here in the video that the color on the male has got more of that red, that hard red tone, and the tone on the female here, it's a little darker. Now the male here, he is now a proven breeder. As we are filming this, he is a proven breeder. So I hit the 1.3 again, and yeah, as you can see, and here's the pastel lesser. It blackbacked. It's a pastel lesser HRA, pos het VPI xanthic. And we'll just keep using her, and I've already bred the lesser HRA male. Wasn't the next clutch, but obviously I went the next clutch. I took the male again, my starter founder male, HRA, het now, he's proven het, proven breeder, VPI xanthic. So I wanted to test the HRA blackback with the hardest, to me, the hardest gene to blackback, but you always want, I love that, the gene Enshi. Enshi to me is one of my top 3 genes. It does a lot of great stuff. Before Desert Ghost or Lace or anything around, Enshi was our Desert Ghost, our Lace. And Fire was our Desert Ghost, or Lace, or what have you. So the next thing I wanted to do is I wanted to test the HRA blackback with Enshi. But I wanted to be sure. I wanted to be sure what I was looking at was Enshi and HRA. So I pulled out my allelic female. She is a cinnamon Enshi Fire. So she's an allelic animal. Everything she produces starts either cinnamon or Enshi, and then she can add Fire on top of that cinny or that Enshi. So I paired her to my original male, and we've known for years that HRA and cinnamon are allelic. They make the gargoyle. Cinnamon and HRA together is a gargoyle, or that might have been black pastel and HRA, but black pastel and cinnamon, they're allelic too, so it's a gargoyle. So we also know that Cinny and Enshi are allelic. We discovered that a couple years ago. Basically, if you go watch Rob's videos, he'll explain this real well. I've said I've got an example, a math example. So if you have the simple math equations of A equals B and A equals C, then you can, because of those two things are true, then you know that B also equals C. So if allelic genetics works, there's only two alleles, one on either side, right? So if like cinnamon and enchi are allelic, you're never going to see a super cinny with enchi. And you're never going to see a super enchi with cinnamon, ever. It's impossible. You can't make that animal because cinnamon and enchi are allelic, right? So you wouldn't be able to make it. You can make super cinnies and super enchis, and I even tried it with a pair of cinnamon enchis that I have. I paired my cinnamon enchi male to a cinnamon enchi pinstripe, and I got a 4-egg clutch, and I made 2 super cinnies and 2 super enchis. One of the super enchis had pinstripe. The super cinnies both had pinstripe. Wouldn't know it until we breed them for sure. So I want to get my collection more towards ALS, supers, even the animals that I'm breeding to try to go to the next level with my collection. I want to limit the amount of wild type or the very lower end animals, because I think there's just too many out there. I think, you know, those are the animals that I'm selling because that's where my collection's at. But I can show you, you know, a triple homozygous animal that I produce. So I'm not just putting out pastels and normals, but I'm trying to, even in my pairings, limit the number of those animals that I'm making male. And the results there is I produced 4 HRA combo animals again, no males, 0.4 HRA combos. And the HRA combos were as follows, because remember, there's not going to be just a single gene HRA in this breeding. It's either got to be cinnamon or it's got to be enchi. It's not just HRA. I hit 4 HRA combos. I hit 0.1. Obviously, they're all females, so I'm not even going to give you the breakdown with the 0. anything. So I hit a Cine HRA, and then I hit 2 Cine HRAs with fire, and I'll show you those here in the comparison and the color difference, just adding 1 gene. You know, you take this very dark animal to this very different color or lighter animal, and it's just amazing. So, and then I knew that I had an enchi animal that was blackback. It looks like an HRA. It's got to have enchi or cinnamon in it, and cinnamon and HRA look like that. So if this is an HRA, it's blackback, it's got to be enchi. It's got to be enchi and HRA. It's the only thing it can be. So that's a beautiful animal. The contrast is just amazing. I'll put a still on from when she was just a baby, and now we're growing her up. She's probably 600, maybe 700, probably 700. I'm so horrible at doing that. She ain't big enough to breed yet. I wouldn't breed an animal at this size, obviously. She needs to still keep growing. So as you can see, I blackbacked enchi, and on the way we go. Now I knew that HRA would blackback enchi, and I also knew how to see it and how to pick it out. It's not just an HRA. So I think there's been a lot of HRAs, a lot of enchi HRAs out there when this project was in probably, years and years ago, but people didn't know it was an enchi HRA. So I put the male lesser HRA poshet VPI xanthic to my enchi fire female. And I made 2 HRA combos in that clutch. And the clutch, I believe, was 5. I want to say it was 5 animals. It's a 5-egg clutch. But what we hit there, I only hit 2 HRA combo animals. And remember, it was lesser. I didn't hit any lesser HRAs. I hit an HRA fire. I believe it's an HRA fire because I can compare it to her half-sister, the one you saw earlier in this video. And this one, I just think it doesn't, if you look at the alien heads again, it's not really granity like her half-sister. So I think, again, fire is just kind of clean that up, brightened it up a little bit, and I also think I see the fire in the head stamp on this female. And then I finally produced a male, and I believe this is the male HRA Enchi Fire. And so I missed this combo the year before. I think the one that I have that I made before is just Enchi HRA, and now this one is the Enchi Fire HRA. And if you look, and I'll show you pictures, comparison of pictures. It just, again, after like my super chocolate video, you could just look at that animal and you can tell we're stepping up. From the Enchi HRA to this animal, there's something different. There's something extra. And I believe that is to be fire. So it's a great clutch. I've come this far with it. I also, last year, made Enchi Het VPI Xanthic. I just wanted a male because now I have 2 female VPI Xanthics visuals. And so I want to put Enchi into my VPI Xanthic and eventually Super Enchi. But this project, what I need to get Enchi because I need to clean up and try to make this gray and black monochrome animal gray and black again, and not a deep color of brown and black like it does, because it browns out with HRA, because HRA is trying to put that red hue in there, and then VPI Xanthic is trying to take all that red and orange pigment out. So we're fighting a little bit there. So that's where the project is going to go. How can we make a black-backed HRA animal in the VPI Xanthic, in the Xanthic trait, that stays that gray and black and the silver and black? So Enchi is one way I think we're going to do it. Enchi Fire is probably even a better idea. And then we're going to lay Desert Ghost probably on top of that down the road as well. And that's the plan for this project. I like to do the project, and then I like to be able to show the steps. How do you get there, right? That's what makes it interesting for me. So I hope you like the video. Next video, we're gonna do another project. And the project for me is, sometimes you have projects that are big projects that go over years and years and years. And sometimes you have projects that just a clutch may be a project. Like, in my collection a couple of years ago, I had a leopard male and a pastel lesser leopard male. And I love the leopard gene. So I knew that my strategy there was I got these male leopards, let's make some female combo leopards. So I took my pastel lesser leopard Poshet pied, and I put him to my cinnamon pinstripe girl. And just to try to make some leopard female combos, and boy did we. And that'll be the next video in the project series on my channel. So see you on the next one. Talk to you later.